Hey everybody, Stinger here. I want to invite you to a pretty cool podcast.
Watch this film. Be quite nice. Have a good time. Be very evil. And you'll have that Danhausen.
Hey, this is Big Sexy Kevin Nash.
Yes, it is I, Big E, but more importantly, it is you.
And you might remember me from such YouTube greats as Being the Elite and Chris Daniels Almost Dies.
And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And I'm just going to tell you now, as a role model, you got to tune into this because if you also want to be a role model, you got to learn from the best.
We have a rapport, and we have been so close over so many years. This is not a cameo or a paid endorsement in any regard. This is a message of friendship.
Man, we met 20 years ago, 21 years ago now. Time is flying, isn't it?
I want to wish you all the best in your YouTube channel, and hopefully I can maybe make a special guest appearance on there sometime.
And I used to say, hey, Greg Morgan, and he used to say, please call me Greg, and I wouldn't do it.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Awesome YouTube channel. Now, if you've seen these videos before, you know what I'm talking about.
We would do verbal chain wrestling. You know, we'd be off in the yard, the schoolyard at recess.
And he's also a 40-year-old wrestling fan. That's a long damn time.
And we'd just be staring at each other, and he'd say, hammerlock. And I'd say, all right, I've reversed the hammerlock into a hammerlock of my own, then I put you in a headlock. And, you know, that would go on for hours.
He's not going to fill your head with bullshit. He's going to tell you real deal, what's up, and that's that.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT. This guy covers it all, my friends. I want you to go to his page, Good Mic Work on YouTube.
Check out Good Mic Work Commentaries on YouTube.
But we would have fun. We would run around. There would be a wooden hoop we would hit with a stick, and it would go down a hill.
I'm about to go and watch a few videos myself.
It's a very practical apparatus.
We're really lacking in the world right now with some people that have a freaking brain cells.
And now look at him. He has more YouTube views and subscribers than I do, and I'm fine with it because I played such an integral role in his upbringing.
Don't you dare be sour.
We always talked about wrestling. He was a big Lou Thez guy, and of course I had an affectation for the Hackenschmidts.
Clap for Good Mic Work Commentaries.
This is RJ City, a wrestling rock on tour.
And feel the power.
Listen to the podcast. Subscribe.
You are watching Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Good Mic Work Commentaries.
Just want to encourage all you guys to check out Good Mic Work Commentaries.
And if you don't, we're going to have a problem.
Do it!
Do it.
Do it now!
Thanks a lot for the encomium and the nice words about my father's Hall of Fame induction.
Hope our paths cross again sometime down the road. Would love to shake your hand again, and good luck on this podcast.
And you don't just watch it one time. You can rewatch every single one of them.
And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Another Saturday has arrived on the Good Mic Work Commentaries YouTube channel. What's going on, guys? Greg Morgan back at you with your Winged Eagle Podcast for October 2nd. It's already October. Oh my God, 2021. Hope you guys are having an excellent weekend so far. We are here to talk about the WWE draft that kicked off last night on SmackDown. Will resume this Monday on Raw, and we got a bunch of picks on Talking Smack and a few today made via social media and whatnot. So that's going to be the focus of this episode, is to talk about the draft, some of the moves made so far, some moves that we might be expecting on Monday, and the very interesting kind of new stipulation this year with the draft, that they are not going to take effect for 3 weeks until the night after Crown Jewel. So we've got some time to flip some stuff around. WWE's got some time to change their mind, maybe initiate some trades. things like that, and at least that puts a little bit different of a twist on it, although in the end, you guys know how I feel about the draft. I think they're all bullshit, and they don't mean anything in the long run, and the problem isn't where certain talent is. Shuffling them around isn't going to do anything. It might give a couple of people some fresh starts and fresh matches, but overall, the same problems that exist in your booking aren't going to be fixed just because you move talent around. So I don't like drafts, and I don't even understand how they're really done now. You got Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce heading up both brands. So who the fuck are making these picks? You know, is there a SmackDown team or management behind the scenes? Or I don't know. It makes no sense. So I'm probably going to complain about it a lot, but also talk about some of the positives of some of these moves. I think some of them are very good, specifically Drew McIntyre over to SmackDown and a couple others. So we'll be getting into the draft and SmackDown from last night. We're going to start with that. Normally we open up with the wrestling news, then go through some Dynamite and Raw notes and preview some shows, and then we finish up with SmackDown and Rampage. But I figured we should start with Rampage today because it was kind of a big episode and a lot was going down outside of the draft as well. Brock Lesnar was on the show setting up stuff with Roman Reigns, and there was some interesting shit and a really good main event too between Sasha Banks and Bianca Bel-Air. So we'll start with SmackDown tonight, talk about the draft, talk about the results of last night's show. Then we will preview the entire Crown Jewel card and what we have so far confirmed and what is rumored. Then we'll talk about last night's great 1-hour edition of AEW Rampage that was headlined by Bryan Danielson and Nick Jackson, which was a great match. We had somebody's head shaved and a really shitty women's triple threat. Then we will touch on this week's Raw. Goldberg is advertised. We'll touch on last week's Dynamite real quick and preview this week's Dynamite, which I will be live for on Wednesday for our watch-along 2-year anniversary show for Dynamite, and some really good matches set for that. We'll go through all the ratings of the week, and then we'll finish up with some wrestling news. We'll talk about Dark Side of the Ring. Hey, as my cat is jumping up on the desk, we're going to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, the FMW episode that aired on Thursday. Also going to talk about Impact's digital media title, the rumors that SummerSlam could be heading to the UK next year for the 30th anniversary. And also, I guess I have written down here, Brian Alvarez tweeted out today that NBC, Universal, and YouTube TV have reached a deal. I guess there was some negotiations there and some potential and possibility that NBC could be leaving YouTube TV. And I think for all the subscribers that have that, they're happy NBC Universal is sticking around. I don't use YouTube TV, although I did sign up for it once and canceled it. I use something else, but glad to see that deal was reached as well. So that's kind of on the menu for today. In case you're wondering, I'm going to say hi to everybody in the chat. I'm going to shout out the patrons real quick, and I'm going to let you guys know about the video schedule just for the weekend. That should only take like 2 minutes, so just hang tight for a second. Off Leather Wings, I appreciate the $5 from earlier on. Book your fantasy Wrestlemania card using only using real Wrestlemania matches. Can't change any finishes or use the same wrestlers. A future video idea. That's a really good video idea. I mean, essentially that would be like a top 10 favorite WrestleMania matches, but you can't use wrestler more than once, I guess, right? So I can only pick one Bret Hart match. I can only pick one Shawn Michaels match. That's a really good video idea, to be honest with you, because that would really... I would struggle to narrow it down, but I could do it. You know, I mean, I have a lot of favorite Bret Hart WrestleMania matches and Shawn. So to narrow just one each there, favorite Austin match, all that shit, favorite Hogan match, that would be interesting. I mean, you can't do all main events either. So you want to have like a well-rounded card, tag team matches, IC matches, that sort of thing. That could be a fun idea, dude, for real. We could get into that. And I should mention this now, since you brought that up, is not only that could that be a future video idea, that could also be a future mic drop idea or episode. If you haven't noticed on the channel, those are back. I'm going to start consistently putting those up again. I've kind of been slack on it for the past couple of years. I've basically just been procrastinating on getting down, an organized and easy template to where I can just push them out and pump them out quickly without too much work. I've done that now, so I'm going to start utilizing those more. And I also want to beef up the Q&A portions of these podcasts a little bit more too. So on nights where we have time, particularly the live streams on Monday and Wednesdays, if we want to shoot the shit in the chat and you guys can ask questions about anything, I can go through and answer them, and that could provide some good material for the mic drops, because I just need to try to get the algorithms back on our side. It hasn't been good the last few months here on the channel, as you can see with the 65 people here in the chat. So I figured that would be a good idea, good way to kind of just pump some more content out and filter it out. So we'll be doing a lot more discussions maybe in the chats on Monday Night Raw reviews and things like that, and even here on the podcast to provide material for those. So they are back. I've got like 5 or 6 of them up right now, and you can start checking those out, and they will consist of current stuff, past live streams, maybe some reviews I've done in the past few months. I'll crop out a few, clips here and there and put those up. So keep a lookout if you just want some consistent flowing content on the channel. You're going to get that for the rest of the year here. So looking good. And that is a great idea. So anyway, I'll move on now. Little Justin Red Raven, Lambo Sam, Jet the Hawk, Charlie is here, Muhammad, Michael Cuomo, and Big J, Deshaun Robinson, Monkey Wrench, Kubro. We got Sonic Plays. Victor is here. George Morris with the $5. Thanks, dude. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? WWE on Peacock is getting worse. More every day. The draft was horrible. And what do you think of Pat McAfee? I think he suck. Well, dang, George Morris. I like Pat McAfee. He's a bit over the top and obnoxious, but I kind of think that's the point. And I think he brings a lot of energy, so I don't hate him. The draft is horrible. I agree with you there, and I agree with you on Peacock. So we're 2 out of 3 there. I agree with you on 2, not the 3rd. And good to see you, man. Welcome back. David Brown is here. Good to see you, man. Sorry to hear about your rough week there, David, but it's the weekend now. Hopefully everybody's having a great day wherever you live. It's a perfect day here. My God, it's on my computer right here. 91 degrees. There ain't a cloud in the damn sky out there. It's perfect, although it's October. And I'm ready for it to cool off, and I'm ready to get some fall weather in here. I want to get this place smelling like a jack-o'-lantern's butthole. I'm ready for that, but it's still pretty damn hot where I live. So wherever you guys are, I hope it's a nice day. Jose is here. What's up, man? Lambo, I think I got you. I lost everybody. There we go. Margie is here. Michael Kumo, thanks for the $5, dude. How long till they have a wild card night to spice up the low ratings? My God. We can't even get through the draft yet, and they're already going to be shaking shit up. And now with these 3 weeks in between when the draft choices take effect, you're just going to have so much bounce and talent. How are you going to turn around now in 1 month after these changes take effect and then have like a pay-per-view for brand supremacy? I think WWE should really rethink Survivor Series and what the fucking point is. Like, who cares? If I'm a WWE wrestler, do you really give a shit what brand you're on? And are you going to fight for that brand when you have these drafts 2 times a year and you just shuffle shit around all the time? It makes no sense. So if WWE tries to feed us this crap again, I like some of the matchups it creates, the champion versus champion stuff, but this brand supremacy plus, now you got these brands on separate channels, so, or separate networks, I should say. So Fox and USA, they're going to insist that their brand is, the better one, and shit like that. So just don't go there, WWE. Just do a normal Survivor Series like you did 10 years ago and see what happens. I don't know. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. John Gorman is here. Thanks, dude, for the $5. Hey, Greg. Hope your weekend is going well. Do you think Hangman Page is too obvious as the Joker entered in the ladder match on Dynamite next week? We're going to talk about that here later on, but I will say this about it. It just depends on when the title shot happens. Has the title shot been announced for the pay-per-view, or is it just like an upcoming title shot on TV? Because if it's like the Casino Battle Royale, then usually that title shot just comes on television, which means if it's just going to be a TV world title match, like main eventing a Dynamite 1 week, you know who I'd go with? Not Hangman Page, Buddy Murphy or Buddy Matthews or whatever he's called. Just think about that match, Matthews and Omega. That would be a fun TV title defense match. Wouldn't put that on pay-per-view per se, but would definitely put it on TV. So it just depends on where the title match is going to happen. If it's Page and he wins, then I say he wants to have his title shot at the pay-per-view. And Hangman might be an obvious choice. He needs to get his ass back in the mix here. There's a lot of talent coming in while he's been gone, and he had a lot of momentum, and he was, chomping at the bit at the title here. So I'm hoping they still continue that with him. But the longer he stays away, the more, he kind of loses steam on that. So him coming back to an enormous pop and ovation would be great. However, I kind of thought he might be there last week in Brody Lee's hometown. I don't know. So Hangman is kind of who I'm hoping for, but just for the pure fun of a good, fun Dynamite match that everybody will be salivating to see, I would really like the Buddy Matthews idea. Stephen Harris is here, and who else we got? I probably pretty much got everybody. I need to shut up and get into what we're going to talk about today. By the way, I mentioned the mic drops earlier on. There will be no watch-along or live stream tomorrow. I'm in the middle of a 3-day weekend here. After this, I don't even have to go to work. I'm actually going to go to a party. So tomorrow, I'm going to take the day off, watch some football, get some things done around the house, and not bother with a live stream. But we will be back Monday night, as usual, for the Raw review. So just keep that in mind for the weekend. And I also want to cruise right here real quick to Patreon and shout out all the current subscribers on the Patreon page. The link is in the description if you would like to support the channel. We've got a lot of great supporters, some of whom have been here for years. Thank you so much, Jordan Hendricker, excuse me, Divine Ricks, and JJ Legg, Nikita Abalakin, Chris Miner, Super Fluffy Toaster, Deshaun Robinson, Martin Can, J Smooth 99, Apron Bump Podcast. Apron Bump, if you are here in the chat for any reason, chuck your link in the chat there so people can shoot over there and give you a subscription. Alan Carter, Brandon Yelverton, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, Claudio Clavedetster, Daniel Rodriguez, Barry MK400, Josiah Blevin, Scott Moss, Domanian, Ewell, John Riffle, Michael Kumo, who I think is also here, Naveed, Keith Salyers, and Blake Moran. Thanks as always, dudes. Man, you guys are the best. You really are. You pay the bills on this channel, and I appreciate it. I really, 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 really do. All right, smash that thumbs up button for me. If you are not subscribed, do it. And also, that little bell thing, click that. That way, when I upload a video, your phone's like, yo, asshole, Greg Morgan's up on YouTube. Go check him out. It helps. Anyway, why don't we get into SmackDown first? We need to do that. We need to talk about that right up front. By the way, the rating came in for SmackDown this morning. It was slightly up from last week, 2.12, up from last week's 2.9. And last night, of course, was night one of the WWE draft. Now, first of all, I should get some of my complaints out of the way first. I hate these drafts because they don't make any sense. And, you know, nowadays you have two networks, and I think they did do that at one point. Like, didn't they do the Fox and USA thing? Like, weren't there, like, war rooms? At least pretend to make this shit real. Throughout the years, the draft has taken so many different forms to the point where in a lot of years they just phone it in, and they basically do, like, a digital slot machine on the Tron where the wrestlers just, you know, start flashing on the screen real quick, and then it stops on one, like fucking Press Your Luck from the 80s. And like, oh, okay, that person's on SmackDown. But, like, how is this computer programmed? And how is this being programmed? And what are the odds? And who's in what pools? And how does this fucking work? They never explain anything. It's just such a silly way to announce a draft pick, to act like it's random. You know, why don't they just come out and say it now? So then it's, you know, we've had GMs where they've made the picks before, and now we've got Adam and Sonia who kind of are the authorities on both brands, which I think is weird, and they're announcing picks for both brands. Who's making the fucking picks? I didn't really listen to all of SmackDown last night. Maybe McAfee and Cole explain that there's USA and Fox representatives phoning in these picks. I don't know, making some bullshit up. But all I know is it's just silly a lot, and a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. And right off the bat, they start moving shit around, and now they got red belts on blue brands, and they're going to fuck up the title lineage again. And I think they've already done this once with the tag teams where they just, we'll just swap belts now. They're probably going to have to do that with the women too if we see Becky move over to Mondays. It's going to be a mess, but we'll see. They got, like I said, they got 3 weeks now to kind of figure it out and let the dust settle. So they can kind of look at what they've done, because I'm sure they're not really thinking real hard on this stuff. They can kind of take a look at what they've done and say, okay, do we need to make any changes now that we have this grace period? So this 3-week thing, even though it's weird, I actually think it's kind of good. That way they don't look stupid when they don't follow through with the change they made, because they've done that a lot too. I know you guys can think of ideas. I don't know of any, but I know for a fact there have been multiple instances during these drafts where somebody gets drafted to a brand and they show up on the other brand because WWE changed their mind. So this time they have a chance to change their mind before they look like morons. So we'll see what happens with the draft. But anyway, I'm not going to go through the show. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to talk about the draft first, then run through the results of the show, because the draft was scattered throughout the show. But I want to get all of these picks done at once. And I also want to talk about the supplemental picks that were made today on Talking Smack with SmackDown and Raw. A lot of undercard talent moving around, including a big tag team split as well. So we'll get into all these picks first. So last night on SmackDown, they did a bunch of rounds, I think 3 rounds or 4 rounds. So here are all of SmackDown's picks. We'll start with them. Number 1 is Roman Reigns. He was the first overall pick in the draft. SmackDown got that pick. They chose him. And Raw countered by choosing Big E, the WWE champion. So from there, SmackDown got Roman Reigns, Charlotte, Drew McIntyre. Actually, we should stop. We should talk about, let's run through them first, and then we'll talk about them individually. Roman Reigns, Charlotte, Drew McIntyre, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Motherfucker. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, Naomi, Jeff Hardy, and Hit Row from NXT, the entire faction, all 4 members, to SmackDown. There has been some speculation about Hit Row. We'll talk about that in a second. With Raw, like I said, they got Big E as their number 1 pick. They chose Bianca Bel-Air as number 2. Becky is involved in the Raw pool, so she wasn't in this pool of wrestlers. So it is weird. That's another thing that they don't explain, is that you've got 3 of your 4 big champions in one pool. Why is that? Why don't you have 2 big champions and 2 in the other one? It's because they want people to go in a specific way, so they just rig the shit. So anyway, I just don't understand why Becky was left out by herself in the second pool. She should have had one of those other 3 champions with her, either Charlotte or Big E or Roman. So she's not available till Monday. So Raw took Big E, then Bianca Belair, then they took RK Bro, tag team champions, then Edge moving over to Raw, Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, who are currently the women's tag team champions. I guess that means when they lose the belts, they stay on Raw. Keith Bearcat Lee will be sticking around on Raw. Rey and Dominic Mysterio have moved to Raw, and Austin Theory, drafted from NXT, who he did pretty good shit in the way. I'm sad to see him leave that environment, because I think that's where he was really coming out of his shell, and we all know that WWE fucks up every good thing on NXT, so as soon as he gets to Raw, he's probably going to suck, but it hopefully will translate into something good for him. So that's kind of where we were for the picks from last night's SmackDown. Well, let's look at them individually here. The big one, Roman Reigns, obviously SmackDown's going to keep him. There was some talk about him moving to Raw, but SmackDown's probably a good place for him to chill for right now, and now that Drew McIntyre's there, that could make some interesting stuff. Now, Charlotte is the interesting one. I don't think a lot of people saw Charlotte moving. So now you've got the Raw Women's title on SmackDown, and some people might think that that doesn't matter. Well, I think it does. This is why it's so fucking stupid to name your titles after the TV shows they're on, because when you switch shit around, it jumbles everything up. So if you got the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title, why can't you just do that with the tags in the women's? Why can't you do a women's WWE and a women's Universal? Why can't you do they did it with the tags too. Remember, they had the WWE tags and the world tags. I think that's a bit much. I would love, love, love for WWE to treat the tag team division the way they treat the women's tag team division. Just make that shit a floating title. Why not? Give both brands tag team matches to have and title matches to have, to where you don't have these like bullshit divisions, because you have some really good teams here if you actually cared about the division at all. You got some good teams bubbling up like Mansoor and Ali, who stayed together. So I think that they should maybe do that. But if you start moving these titles around, like, goddamn, you're going to have to switch it up. So now that Charlotte is over there, they obviously want her on Fox. That means one of two things. Becky is either going to go to Raw, which would make sense because we've speculated that Seth Rollins should be heading to Raw as well, and I'm pretty sure they're going to stay together. So Becky could head there, Seth could follow her. Or Charlotte could simply just drop the belt before these changes take effect. That could happen. Or they could be heading up for some unification bullshit between Becky and Charlotte based on the way that SmackDown ended last night. So I don't know. Now we've got Charlotte. What the hell does she have to do on Raw coming up? Not really much of anything, although Bianca Belair does have a SmackDown. This is what it's so confusing. Bianca Belair's got the SmackDown Women's title shot at Crown Jewel. I don't think she's going to win that. But if she did, then she's on Raw. Like, what the fuck? They're going to have to swap the belts or something. So Charlotte going over there is going to just means one of several things. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. I'm trying to think, is she set for anything for Crown Jewel? Charlotte? I don't believe she is. Where's my Crown Jewel lineup? No, just the triple threat women. That's it. So there's a lot that can happen. She can drop the belt. She can not drop the belt. I don't know. But Charlotte, at least for right now, is on SmackDown. Also, like I said, Drew McIntyre on SmackDown. That's perfect. We all saw that coming a mile away. Feels like that's the case. But again, he's probably going to face Big E at Crown Jewel for the WWE title, which is on Raw. So hopefully Big E will obviously retain and it won't even matter. And then Drew will just remain on SmackDown. Drew has been doing a few jobs as of late. So going down to Big E, I'm thinking you're going to have to do a DQ or some sort of, not crazy clean in the middle finish if they want Drew to be a big force on SmackDown and potentially have that rematch with Roman Reigns down the line. I do think there's money to be made there between Roman and Drew. I did really like their match last year, and we knew they were going to have, a run-in again in the future, and Drew might very well be the guy to dethrone Roman. I don't know. But Roman's got to get past Brock Lesnar first, who's a free agent. We'll get into that later on as well. Also, for SmackDown, the New Day, but only 2/3 of New Day. They moved Kofi and Xavier from Raw to SmackDown, but kept Big E on Raw. And what's frustrating about this is, number one, they split up the New Day again for no reason again. I think we're all in agreement that they should just stay together unless they really want Big E to swim on his own and survive on his own. They already tried that once. He's been fine on his own, and I think the fans enjoy the New Day together. There's still time, for them to change plans and perhaps put these three back together in a trade or whatever the hell happens. I suppose that could still be the case, but as of right now, the New Day is split up. But what makes no sense about that is, why is the New Day not a group, but Corbin and Moss are, or Hit Row are? You got a champion in Hit Row, Swerve Scott. Now you got the goddamn North American title from NXT on SmackDown. But, of course, the changes don't take effect until the 22nd or whatever it is later on in the month, which means he's going to drop the title between now and then. So it's either they're spoiling shit. They're letting you know, we're going to take the title off of Swerve Scott. He's not bringing that title to SmackDown. So, it's why are they a group, and why is Corbin and Madcap a group, but the New Day aren't? Who makes these decisions? Who makes these rules? Can you explain something to us, please? I mean, I know we're all idiots here, but, just to pretend that this shit is legit. They're not even trying. They're just making this shit up as they go. It's ridiculous. Also, Naomi sticking around. That's pretty good news, because the Usos, as we'll talk about later, have not been drafted yet. Roman is instructing Heyman to be on Raw on Monday to ensure that the Usos get drafted to SmackDown. And if they don't, Roman instructed the Usos to leave Paul Heyman for dead. So the fact that Naomi got drafted to SmackDown, I think it's more likely that the Usos stay on SmackDown with her than Paul Heyman dies. So I'm going with the Usos to get drafted to SmackDown on Monday. And also, SmackDown picked up Jeff Hardy. Not sure if that's going to really mean anything in the long run for Jeff, wrapping up his career here in the twilight era of it. And he'll be on SmackDown doing much the same as what he was doing on Raw, most likely, unless they want to give him one more run before he's finally for real done. Let's talk about the Raw picks from last night. Big E, of course, WWE champion, sticking around. That's fine. They picked up Bianca Bel-Air, and what makes me worried about that is that Bianca, I think there's mileage left with her and Becky. That's why I think Becky's got to go to Raw. If Becky can follow Bianca over there, that way they can finish it up, because Becky owes Bianca a victory. And as Becky brought up last night on SmackDown, she's been champion since WrestleMania 35. You guys in the chat help me out, because I don't remember. When she won the title, she won both titles. How did they get the other one off of her? Did she just forfeit it and they did a tournament? I don't actually remember. It was like 2 years ago and I don't remember. But she brought that up. Like, I've been champion since WrestleMania 35. That blue belt in the ring is technically mine too. I never lost it. I just can't remember how she never lost it. She probably just forfeited and they did a tournament. But she better go over there now and finish up what she started with Bianca Belair, because Becky now has got this long run. And now she's kind of fully establishing herself as a heel. It's going to be a huge victory for Bianca Belair if she can beat Becky Lynch. So I want Becky to follow Bianca to Raw. And we might have to do the deal where Charlotte and Becky just trade titles, which I fucking hate. But at the end of the day, it's WWE. What does it matter? It's nothing makes any sense anyway. So why I'm getting so particular about belt swapping, I don't know. It's just I'm a little bit more traditional, a little bit more old-fashioned, and it's already confusing as fuck when you go try to review wrestling title histories or lineage, and you look at how many times belts have swapped, especially with the tag team titles. I'm so lost. I don't know what's the WWF tags and what's the World tags and what's the SmackDown tag. I don't even know. I can't even follow it anymore. And just the more often you do this, the more convoluted that all gets, and it just annoys me. So that might be what happens, but you're not going to have the Raw Women's Champion and the SmackDown Women's Champion on SmackDown. So Charlotte's either getting bumped back or Becky's following Bianca over there, and that's what I hope it is. Becky better be turning up on Raw come Monday. Also, RK Bro, like I said, sticking around on Monday Night Raw. The tag champs will stay there. That's a good home for them. A lot more room for them and time for Riddle to do his rambling. And also Edge. They picked up Edge, which is an interesting pick since Edge isn't really super full-time or anything, but he's a big name. We've been speculating that Edge could be moving to Raw. And like I said, if Becky moves to Raw, I think Seth will too. So Edge and Seth could actually kind of continue what they're doing. There was a fucking home invasion last night on SmackDown. So even if they do wrestle at Crown Jewel, that might not be enough to finish this up between them. But we'll see if Seth winds up there or not. Could go either way, I suppose. And another thing is, I don't know the latest on Randy Orton's absence from last Monday's Raw. He wasn't there. I think there's no explanation that I saw. I haven't looked really hard, but I haven't heard of any reason why he wasn't there. So I don't know. But if there's any sort of an issue there, because he was off TV for a few weeks earlier in the summer, if there is any sort of an issue with Randy Orton that would cause him to lose or miss more TV, I could see Riddle recruiting Edge. Now, I know Edge is a little more serious these days, but, after this really, brutal shit with Seth Rollins wraps up and he might want to take a breather, do something a little bit less intense, and Riddle could ride up on a scooter. Just envision Riddle explaining in his rambling way why he has decided to choose Edge as Randy Orton's temporary replacement because of Edge and Randy Orton's history. And to hear Riddle go on and on about their history and making up all these little anecdotes. Rest in peace, Monday Night Football. AEW, you're going to go out of business. That is a ratings grabber right there. Give me Riddle explaining to Edge why Edge is so great. I won't watch anything else but that. That could be fun. Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, like I said, are sticking around on Raw as well. Keith Bearcat Lee sticks around on Raw. They might be moving him heel. He's also possibly a favorite for the King of the Ring that they announced on SmackDown. We'll get into our favorites for the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournament that I think is scheduled to wrap up at Crown Jewel, although I don't think WWE made that official last night. I'm not sure. Rey and Dominic Mysterio are also moving to Raw, so that's, I guess, a good move and not surprising of a move for Rey and Dom, like we said, and Austin Theory. So those were the picks from last night. Now today, they moved a bunch of mid-carders and undercarders. So here's who SmackDown got today. Aaliyah, moving up from NXT. Drew Gulak, Mansoor and Ali. So they're going to be on SmackDown now. And Tony Storm. And the big one is Mace. So Mace from Mason T-Bar is now drafted to SmackDown. And why can't I ever remember Mace's name? The commentator, the big giant commentator from Raw. Why do I suck at that? I can't remember the poor guy's name. Anyway, he's over there now, and T-Bar, our friend T-Bar, tweeted out that he's all by himself now. So it looks like they could be splitting up Mace and T-Bar, which is another ridiculous thing. Not that I'm against the split, but it's like, why are they split but not Corbin and Madcap? Like, what is the rules between who's drafted as a duo or a group and who's not? Who makes these fucking rules? So anyway, looks like they're splitting up Mace and T-Bar. Great, because T-Bar's a stupid fucking name, and so is Mace. Hopefully they get rid of these. And I think that Rey Mysterio should turn heel and introduce Dominic Dijakovic as his new son. That's an idea. So I'm hoping that we get Dominic Dijakovic back, or probably just Dijakovic, because God forbid we have two Dominics. We couldn't have two Coles. Remember, they wanted to shave his fucking head and call him Boom Boom or something. So we can't have that. So if he comes back and he resurrects his NXT name, it's probably just going to be Dijakovic, which is fine. I don't give a shit. Anything is better than T-balls. So anyway, that's who SmackDown gets. Raw got Reginald. He's going to stick around. Looks like the entire 24/7 bullshit division is going to stick around, because so did Tozawa and R-Truth. They also got Chad Gable and Otis, who were drafted together. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, who were drafted together. Doudrop, Drake Maverick, John Morrison. Oh, I'm sorry. T-Bar did go over there. I'm sorry. I have T-Bar written down. Excuse me. T-Bar is on Raw, so they did officially split Mace and T-Bar. Nia Jax and Zelina Vega. So those are all the Raw picks. So I'm sorry, I forgot that T-Bar did get drafted. I think they were going to wait on him. So they're split up. Just a lot of undercard talent, like moving around. Nothing to say really about those guys individually. Doudrop's going to be continuing to do her thing. Nia Jax will probably come back from her injury. And looks like the only major ones are probably T-Bar and Mace, that they will be undergoing name changes, hopefully. If they stay T-Bar and Mace, they are doomed. Also, it looks like they might be pulling up or bringing up Dakota Kai and or Xia Li. They worked a dark match last night on SmackDown, I believe, so we could see them get moved on Monday or after, or sometime in the next 3 weeks. Looks like WWE's taking a look at a few more pieces of NXT talent. I think they're both ready. Xia Li is that whole just gimmick that she went through and that transformation. I thought she's become very, very scary, almost like Asuka-like when Asuka was at her peak. Where the fuck is Asuka, by the way? Hopefully they draft her. She had a lot of that to me. Like she's small, but she's tough and strong and all that. She can beat the shit out of people. So I kind of I was into her. So I think she's ready for prime time. I think she's ready for main roster. Dakota Kai is as well. She's a veteran by this point of NXT at least. And I think they're both ready to rock. So if they bring them up, I'm fine with that. So there you go. That's the draft so far as it stands. We've got the rest of it finishing up on Monday, and I'm sure the next day or on Raw Talk or whatever, they'll announce a whole bunch of more mid-card picks. Then there will be possibly some trades. I don't know. Who knows what stupid ideas they're going to come up with and some silly little name of that they give to whatever they're doing to move talent around. I don't know. But so far, I'm not terribly upset with any of these moves. Maybe the New Day getting split up again for the umpteenth time, although there's time to fix that. And that's what WWE can do. I mean, not that WWE gives a rat shit what fans think, but if they hear enough criticism, they got 3 weeks to fix it. You know, AEW sometimes listens to the fans and like, okay, let's not do that again. If WWE hears all of these complaints about, yo, don't do that, they've got time to say, okay, you know, let's give the fans that one. They want the New Day together. It's not like we have anything planned for them long term. We don't have anything planned long term for anyone. We don't know what we do. We don't know what we're doing tomorrow. So what's the difference if they're together or not together? It's not like you got some long-term 2-year plan storyline for these guys. Just stick them together, make the fans happy. What's the big deal? So we'll see if WWE does that or not. We should talk about SmackDown a little bit too. There was an actual show and some wrestling last night and some pretty big confrontations. The biggest one opened the show. Roman Reigns comes out to the ring. He's got the Bloodline shirt and Heyman and his family with him. He wants Baltimore to acknowledge him, of course, and they boo him and say, fuck off. And Heyman goes on to talk about how they defeated the Demon and there's an arena full of Baltimoreans and that at Crown Jewel, Roman will defeat Brock Lesnar. And then as soon as he says that, Brock Lesnar's music hits. He comes out just looking jacked. He's wearing that flannel, that like sleeveless flannel lumberjack. He doesn't even need an axe to cut down a tree. He just pulls it out of the ground and eats it. And he comes down, gets in the ring, stares down with Roman Reigns, and they actually start fighting. Roman throws the first punch. They both kind of back the other off a little bit. Brock is able to dispose of Roman, then goads Roman to get back in the ring, but he won't do it, and the Usos get their asses kicked for Roman's cowardice. So Roman and Lesnar is set for Crown Jewel. I mean, the card does look pretty good. I hate that it's in Saudi Arabia. I hate that they're giving this match and putting this match on that show. And I don't know how it's going to go, but man, I really want Roman for his legacy, especially this new character. I want him to put down the Beast. But I also like that the Beast is back, and the Beast lost last time he was here. So I feel like Brock's got to... They could schmoz it or something at Crown Jewel. I don't know. I want to find a way to keep the title on Roman, but still make Brock every bit as dangerous as he was before. And Brock would mention later on in the show in a backstage promo that he is officially a free agent. He thanks Paul Heyman for this, or he credits Paul Heyman for making this happen. Must have had something to do with his contract back when Heyman was his advocate. And thanks Paul Heyman for making it happen, and he's a free agent, meaning he can go anywhere he wants, and he can't be drafted by anybody. And then he drops the mic and winks at the camera. Sexy Brock. It's a whole new side of him. Little ponytail, flannel shirt, winking and shit. He's a whole new man. He's cracking me up. He's awesome. I'm really entertained by Brock Lesnar, which is why, as much as I think Roman's character needs to beat Brock Lesnar clean, I almost don't want it to happen because I'm enjoying Brock and I want more of this. So we'll see what happens and where he goes, and if there's twists and turns along the way with Paul Heyman. If he turns on Roman, goes back to Brock, who knows? Heyman has done it before. Heyman turned on Brock once, and he kind of turned on him here too, being the new manager of Roman Reigns. And backstage was when Roman tells Heyman to make sure the Usos get drafted over to SmackDown. I have no doubt they will, because the alternative is Paul Heyman dying, and I don't want that either because he's like the greatest manager of all time, and I would rather have a living Paul Heyman than a dead one. So I think we're going to see the Usos on SmackDown. Get drafted there, I should say, on Monday. Speaking of drafts, I think somebody being drafted to AEW is going to happen real soon in the next few months. His name is Kevin Steen. This guy is gone. Goodbye. Kevin Owens enjoy him while you can in WWE, because that will be the end of that name, and he will be Kevin Steen by 2022 in AEW, no doubt. He took on Happy Corbin, who prior to the match last night introduced Riddick Moss, who came and attacked, I think, Owens the week before. He's now being called Madcap Moss, and his job is to dress like an imbecile and laugh like an asshat. So good job. He's with Corbin. He provides the distraction during the match, which allows Corbin to hit Kevin Owens with the end of days on the floor, throw him in the ring and hit him with another one and pin him for the win. Goodbye. I am ready for Kevin Steen to turn up in AEW and win the inaugural Owen Hart Cup. You heard it here first. WWE also announced the rumored King and Queens of the Ring tournament, although they're calling the women's tournament, I believe, the Queen's Crown tournament, and then the men's tournament will be the King of the Ring. The rumors originally for this was that it was going to be held at Crown Jewel. The finals will be held at Crown Jewel, with the matches, tournament matches taking place on TV. Don't know if that's been confirmed or not, but if it is, who do you have winning these tournaments for the men and women? Who do you even see being in it? I don't know if this is going to be something for the undercard or if you're going to put former champions like Lashley and shit in this thing. I don't know. For the men, obvious choice right off the bat, Xavier Woods. I mean, he's been politicking for this for quite a while. I would, if this is going to be an annual thing, then Xavier's got chances down the road. Maybe they don't want him to be King of the Ring right now. I think it would be great for the New Day. You got Big E as champion. Kofi is a former champion. This gives Xavier something, Because we talked about last Monday or whenever it was, somebody brought up the possibility of an Xavier Woods heel turn, and I said, no, I don't want to see the New Day break up ever. But you would have a story there because he's the one guy that's kind of left out. He hasn't won a world title. He could use that as fuel for a turn or whatnot if they wanted to. There technically is a story there. I don't need it. I'd keep them together. You already broke the Undertaker streak. I associate the New Day staying together much in the same way and their legacy, and don't want to see it happen. So if they at least gave him King of the Ring, the New Day would have a lot to celebrate right now. And especially if like Kofi and Xavier were to win the tag team titles for the 84th time, that could be nice as well to pair with Xavier's crown. So he's right up there. Another guy is Cesaro. Although, even though I want him to, it's just like that would almost be a consolation prize. They just can't seem to push him either and give him opportunities, and then, they kind of go away. Bearcat Lee is another good option if they want to do something with him. So that's kind of some of the favorites, I think, for the men and who I would like to see. For the women, maybe Shayna Baszler. She's been killing everybody lately, and I want to see her get a push and be this killer. And if she is able to run through the entire Queen's field, then that could be a good way to kind of establish her again, much like they did that year. It was, what was it, the Rumble or the Chamber, where she just choked the fuck out of everybody. I think it was a Chamber. And I was like, holy crap, she's the next Ronda. And boy, did that end quick. So I think Shayna's right at the top of my list. Also, Liv Morgan, she needs something. And another one is Carmella if they want to go the heel route. Now, if the finals are in Crown Jewel, or at Crown Jewel, for the women, it's already weird with women over there. We're doing the triple threat, and I'm hoping they don't have to wrestle in beekeeper suits, but they're probably going to have to do something like that. I also don't think that it's a good idea. Well, not a bad idea necessarily, but I think you would want a babyface, basically, to win the Queen's tournament if the finals are at Crown Jewel. You'll probably want a babyface woman to win, not a heel woman. Just, I don't know why I think that. I just think that's probably what you would want. Now, if they're not a Crown Jewel or whatever, then Carmella would be an excellent choice. And I also think Carmella is going to be heading over to Raw in the draft on Monday, so she can be with Corey Graves. So anyway, King and Queens tournament announced. You guys let me know your picks for all of that. I'll be going over here to answer these super chats and whatnot here in a minute. After the King of the Ring announcement, we have the Edge promo. This was my favorite part of the whole show. I loved this shit. This was so great. So anyway, last week, Seth, I think he was in the ring cutting a promo demanding that Edge shows up this week and face him and confront him in the ring face to face. We should have known something was up there. And Edge tweets out, I will be there on SmackDown. So challenge accepted, basically. Edge shows up. He's in the ring. He's cutting a promo. And he said, hey, you wanted an apology and you wanted me to retire. Well, why don't you come out here, Seth, and extract these words from my mouth? And then Seth appears on the Tron. And he's standing there and he says that, You know, he just didn't believe everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. I just didn't believe that you were going to show up at SmackDown, so I came looking for you. And then the camera wides out to show that he's right at the front door of the Copeland residence in Asheville, North Carolina, out in the middle of nowhere. The door is fucking unlocked. Edge is freaking out. The funniest part is that Edge gets out of the ring and then like runs backstage. I'm like, bro, you're in Baltimore. You're a bit of a trek over to North Carolina. It's going to take you a long time to run there. And like, where the hell is he going? So he runs out of the ring. He's freaking out. Then they go back to the house. Seth opens the door. He walks in. He takes off his jacket and he starts he's got that funny little dance and he's just it's a beautiful home. You get a lot for your money out there in that part of the state in western North Carolina in the mountains. That house is as beautiful as it looked, is probably actually kind of affordable if you have a pretty decent job. It's just, you can have beautiful homes out there in those mountains like that. And his house looked sweet. And I was just looking at the house the whole time, like, that's a nice kitchen. That's a fucking nice room. It's a nice living room. So Seth is strutting around the house. He goes into the kitchen. He opens up the refrigerator, starts drinking orange juice out of the carton. He sits at the kitchen table, just puts his feet up. He is so great that I can forgive his ridiculous outfit. I've said this before. I can never say it enough. There is no bigger pet peeve or major psychotic fucking hatred that I have more than the look that the men do now with the skin-tight dress pants that come up super high on the ankle, and then they don't wear any socks and wear dress shoes. Oh my God, I don't know what people are thinking with that shit, and it makes me so mad. But Seth's work in Edge's house was so good, I forgive him for looking like a complete buffoon. So he's sitting there looking at some artwork, I guess, that was hung up by Edge's children, his daughters, and he makes fun of the artwork and shits on that, makes fun of their silly little backpacks that are hanging up in the front hallway there. He's dancing down the hall. He is just abusing their home and just making fun of them and talking shit. So he has a great time in the house. Of course, this infuriates Edge. This was more of a lighthearted home invasion. Seth wasn't vandalizing the place. He made himself at home. He propped his feet up, but he didn't damage anything. I don't know if this qualifies as breaking and entering. It might qualify as trespassing. He didn't break anything. He just walked in the fucking door, and he didn't destroy anything. He was just on property that he shouldn't have been, so I suppose he could get in some trouble for this, and went and made himself at home. And Edge, of course, is very upset, and they show Edge backstage calling Beth Phoenix, who wasn't home, and he's like, just go to your brothers. And then Edge mentions, he says, I'm going to send over Dan and Dave, or Dan and David. Dan and Dave are the real names of FTR, of the Revival, who live in the area there and are close with Edge, because I love, I always try to keep track of all the wrestlers that live in North Carolina. I used to live there. And it's a beautiful state. It's got beaches, it's got mountains. They live out in the western part. And I see both members of FTR are tweeting about North Carolina all the time. So he says he's going to call them. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Even both members of the Revival, I think, tweeted saying, oh, we'll be all right over to kick that little pussy-ass bitch's ass or something. So that's kind of cool. I just thought that was an interesting touch. And WWE's probably so fucking up their own asses, they don't even know that Edge mentioned those guys by name. But that was good stuff. I liked it. This obviously is going to infuriate Edge to a ridiculously violent degree. And their showdown at Crown Jewel, which is still 3 weeks away, should be pretty gnarly, and who knows, it might continue over on Raw. Like I said, I think a move over there would be good for both, or Seth anyway. So we could see it resume. We'll have to wait and see. I mentioned Carmella earlier on. They're doing something weird with her. She's supposed to take on Liv Morgan, and she's trying to protect what she considers the most beautiful face in the world. Liv goes after it. She gets pissed. She goes out of the ring and says, no, that's your last chance. You're never going to have a chance to damage my face again. And then has some assistant put like a face mask on her, which looks ridiculous. It's all shined up with diamonds and whatnot, and it doesn't even look like it's that much of a protector. It just looks like a fabric of some kind, maybe some rubber, but nothing hard like a nose protector, what Sheamus wears. And apparently this is going to protect her face. The match doesn't even happen. She gets in the ring and beats up Liv Morgan, and that's it. So now she's going to wear this thing, and she took it off right after, but that's stupid. The fans started chanting, you look stupid, right off the bat, and I checked out the clip of this match on WWE.com, or I'm sorry, WWE's YouTube page, and they didn't bleep out the you look stupid chant. So I guess that's the point. They want her to look stupid, and they want the fans to tell her. So she's going to be very heelish here, protecting her face, and she's going to look ridiculous doing it. And look for her to be moving over to the red brand on Monday because she's got a boyfriend over there. And finally, in the main event of SmackDown, we had Bianca Bel-Air taking on Sasha Banks, Wrestlemania rematch. In the SummerSlam match we were supposed to get for the title, Becky Lynch is on commentary for this thing. And she plays in to the finish here as Bianca and Sasha are fighting on the outside of the ring. Bianca tosses Sasha in. She goes to follow her. Becky gets off the announce booth, grabs Bianca's hair and doesn't allow her to get back in the ring, and she's kind of struggling with her hair. And Becky lets go, and that allows Sasha to roll up Bianca and get the win. And after the match, Charlotte comes out and attacks both, or I'm sorry, she attacks, I think she attacks both, and she stands in the ring holding up the belt while Becky Lynch stands on the announce table holding up her belt, and they reference that SmackDown has got 2 champions. So obviously that's going to have to even out, either in the draft on Monday or whatever happens between now and Crown Jewel. I suppose they could continue to have 2 championships on that brand. They can still get one back to Raw if particular people win at Crown Jewel or whatnot. So there's still time to do it. Plus, these aren't taking effect, so Charlotte could still drop the belt on Raw before officially making the move to SmackDown. So that's why a lot of this stuff is going to even out. But even then, like I said earlier, that kind of spoils that we're going to have some title switches soon. It definitely spoils Hit Row. Look for Swerve Scott to drop the title at the next available NXT show, which is probably Wednesday. He's going to do it soon, and same goes with some of these other champions. So I think it spoils a lot when they do shit like that, but it is what it is. It was interesting last night, and it wasn't a bad SmackDown at all with the draft and the Brock and Roman stuff and the Seth home invasion. I thought SmackDown was a pretty good show. So the Crown Jewel card right now, here's what we got. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley, which will probably be announced on Raw on Monday because Goldberg is advertised. You know Edge versus Seth Rollins is going to happen. That's not official yet either, I don't believe, but it will be because Edge is pissed. We have the triple threat that is announced, Becky Lynch defending against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. So it seems like the obstacles with getting women's matches on the card now aren't an issue anymore, and there might even be more than one if they put the finals of the Queen's Tournament there and they do a Raw Women's title match. We might get 3, but like I said, at the very least we're getting 1, and I'm sure but all 3 women are going to have to wrestle in onesies. We also have Big E is going to probably face Drew McIntyre. Again, that one's not announced as well, and possibly the 2 finals of the King and Queen's tournaments, which would give us a grand total of 7 matches so far with shit to add to it. So Crown Jewel, despite that it's a really just dirty, disgusting, fucking blood money ass show that I hate, card doesn't lie. So far, card's looking pretty good. Just wish it wasn't Crown Jewel. That's all. Let's talk about Rampage. Actually, before we talk about Rampage, let me go over here, knockout, super chats, that sort of thing. Also, for those of you here in the chat, do me a favor and smash that little thumbs up button for me. I would appreciate it. And that pretty much covers all of the draft stuff, the Crown Jewel stuff, and anything WWE related for the moment. I want to thank Jimmy Anderson, who was here. What's up, dude? Good to see you, and thank you for the super chat. Welcome back. He is a listener from way across the pond. Joshua Carlos, thank you, man, for the $2. I appreciate it. Becky was horrible on commentary. Heel turn forced. I think she's doing all right on commentary. With a heel turn. I didn't love her on commentary either, but the heel turn, what I like about her is that she seems like she's actively trying to get the babyface she's working with over. And sometimes it doesn't work that way with heels. You know, sometimes they're the more over thing or whatever. She is really trying to make Bianca look good in everything she's done so far. And I think even though I disagreed with turning her heel, I kind of think that was dumb. From a performance aspect, Becky is doing good. She is. It's hard. It's hard when you're loved to go heel. Like I disagree with the decision more than I disagree with how Becky's handling her heel persona. I think she's handling the heel persona right. I just don't think it should have been done to begin with, kind of thing. Kofi and Xavier finals will be killer. I'll tell you what, Digital Lizard, that would be, you know, and as long as you keep the New Day intact, that would be a hell of a match. Kofi could put him over. I'm sure he'd be happy to do it. And hopefully that would not plant any seed for New Day dissension. You know, like I released a mic drop on it this week. I just don't want to, we talked about it on Wednesday or last week or whenever, just don't want to see it happen. Just, it's become kind of important to me, and I don't want to, I can sacrifice whatever fun storyline could come for the sake of them staying together. But at least a babyface finals to where after they wrestle, they're still together and there's no chance of them breaking up. Hell yeah. Especially if Kofi puts him over. Oh, yeah, that's right. Edge went into Cena's house back in the day and slapped his dad. That's right. At least Seth wasn't slapping any of Edge's kids. My God, could you imagine that shit? Oh, my God. That would be crazy. D.O. Madden, thank you for that. I was trying to remember Mace's name. I'm like, why can't I remember this poor guy's name? I like him. I thought he had a good voice. He got a good look, big guy, good wrestler, and Mace is ridiculous, so you got to call him something else. D.O. Madden, just call him that. And Dominic Dijakovic. Anyway, let's talk about last night's Rampage. AEW Rampage last night, back to an hour-long show, and was featured with 3 pretty decent matches. Actually, 2, one great match, 1 decent match, 1 shit match. The best match on the show, obviously, Bryan Danielson taking on Nick Jackson, member of the Elite. This was great shit. I didn't write down match-by-match spots here. I watched the whole thing from start to finish, and it's just so cool to see Bryan there in that gear as the American Dragon, wrestling dudes like this, and it's just a fun match. Just give us this one on TV. I was looking forward to this, and we knew Danielson was going to beat him, but the match was going to be fun. It was high spots all over the place. Danielson has busted out the cattle mutilation again since returning to AEW, and he won the match with it here, tapping out Nick Jackson. The Elite came out to help up Nick Jackson and tend to him as Bryan celebrated, or Danielson, celebrated the win. And he then was joined by Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian to help back him up in case the Elite tried any funny business, which they did. And that caused Jungle Boy to put the STF on Adam Cole. While all the Elite members are out of the ring, they have Cole cornered in here. He's in the STF with all the baby faces standing around. Kenny, they're calling him in, and he's got no choice. He doesn't want to. He runs in the ring, and Bryan Danielson immediately locks the LaBelle lock on him, and we've got dueling tap-outs. Cole and Omega face-to-face, tapping out like bitches. Great spot. Fun match. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So good to see Danielson in AEW. I'm giddy when I see him there. It's so fucking great. Here's a match I didn't like so much. Sloppy, ugly, all around. Wasn't great. Jade Cargill defeated Nyla Rose and Thunder Rosa in like a no DQ triple threat type of affair. Lots of weapons and trash can lids, chairs and tables and whatnot. Nyla Rose goes through a table onto the floor off the apron, and then Thunder Rosa is down in the ring, and Cargill grabs a chair, and Jade just starts smacking Thunder Rosa with it. But man, they were weak chair shots. I understand you need to protect each other, but Jade is still super inexperienced, and she's got to lay those in a little bit better, or I don't know, maybe hit the mat. For, you know how you can kind of hit really hard if you really have the top of the chair hit the mat and not so much the body. She was just these weak ass little chair shots. It didn't look good. It wasn't as bad as Gerald Briscoe's chair shot on Steve Austin at Survivor Series 1998. Look that one up if you don't know what I'm talking about, but they were pretty weak, and she was able to pin Thunder Rosa right after that and win the match. So Jade wins the match. She is undefeated. Like I said, I still think she needs a lot of work. I don't think this loss really hurts Thunder Rosa. She is going to be AEW Women's Champion. I think she will be the one to defeat Britt Baker for the title. I just think that could come way down the line. I'm in no rush to see that, but Thunder Rosa needs to be the one to beat her, right? Or does Britt get the win back? I don't know. But I think Thunder Rosa needs to be AEW champion one day. I don't think this loss will hurt her very much. And we also had the big hair versus hair match. Orange Cassidy taking on Jack Evans. He beats him, of course, wins with the Orange Punch. We had the Hardy Family Office coming out to try to stop, but then the Dark Order stopped them from getting in the ring, which allowed Evans to eat the punch and get pinned. And everybody just basically held off the Hardy Family Office while they propped up poor Evans and shaved his head. Brother Evans, I sent him a message on Twitter. I said, you're going to love it. It's pretty awesome. You just wake up and you're ready to go. You'll never have to buy shampoo again. It's sweet. I always tell my friends, they always laugh. I say I take prison showers. It's just me and a bar of white soap. That's all it is. It's awesome. A little lotion on my head after the fact, but in the shower, it's just me and soap. No loofah, no body wash, no nothing. Just us together. Just don't drop it. You're going to love it, Jack. So shave all that shit off and welcome to the club. And overall, that was fun. Like, that was a fun match. They gave us a women's match on here, and Danielson and Nick Jackson, of course, saved the show. Haven't caught the rating on Rampage from last night. They usually draw somewhere in the 600,000 range. That's probably what they drew here. And overall, fun little hour of wrestling there. But WWE dominated the headlines last night with the draft, and not so much AEW. But that Danielson-Jackson match was so good. In terms of Raw this week, we've got Goldberg announced for Raw on Monday. We will be up here after the show to talk about it. Raw this past week drew a 1.71 rating, which I think is probably somewhat disappointing. It was down from the week before, and it was kind of closer to the number that they drew when Big E won the title. So you got to remember, they're up against Monday Night Football. They're trying their damnedest. This is going to be really good for us. Football season should be great. Monday Night Raws should be tolerable, I would think, for the rest of the year. WWE, this is the beauty of this, is that for once, these motherfuckers in WWE are going to be forced to try. Because if they don't, they are going to get some dismal fucking numbers. And in order to maintain what they've scored here, they're going to have to give us shit that they've given us in the past couple of weeks, which means we're going to need to have some fun matches, some new matches, some championship matches. We had 3 of them this past Monday. It's going to be hard to sustain that every Monday for the next, 14 weeks, but I still think that we're going to be getting some better Monday Night Raws because they got to keep these ratings up. If they give us some shows like we got earlier on in the summer, it's good. They're going to draw 1.3, and AEW is going to draw 1.2. It's going to happen. So I think this is good news for us on Mondays, that when we're up here every week, that we can actually have some fun stuff to talk about. So I'm of the opinion that just whatever the ratings do, the ratings don't matter. The show itself should be pretty decent in terms of the action and the wrestling. And of course, this week is the draft. So that alone should help the rating for this week. So we'll see if Raw can come anywhere close to that 2 million viewer mark. If they can get 2 million head to head with Monday Night Football, I think they're going to consider that a big victory. So we'll see what the draft pulls in for this week. Place your bets in the chat. AEW Dynamite this past week, I should say, pulled in a 1.15 million, so they're still over a million, a little bit down from last week, and a little bit down in the demo. They lost the demo to WWE, 0.48 to 0.45. There was only 1 percentage point difference between them last week, so WWE has won the demo the last 2 weeks there. A lot of people care about the demo. I don't. I'm looking kind of at the overall number, but when AEW wins in the demo, they make a big deal about it, but the numbers are what is more impressive for me for AEW. Everybody who's anti-AEW tends to shit on these numbers, but man, they are not bad in comparison to where we are in wrestling. Obviously, numbers aren't what they used to be in the Attitude Era and shit. Obviously, there's lots of more ways to watch wrestling now, DVR and YouTube and streaming and whatnot. I don't even think how I watch the shows get counted in these ratings because I use streaming apps and shit. So, it's still very, very important for TV networks though. And so when you look at what the top wrestling company in the world with the most watched wrestling company in the world gets, and then you look at what the second biggest company in the world gets, it's not that far off. 1.71 for Raw this week, 1.15 for Dynamite. That's a difference of 600,000 viewers. That can easily fluctuate as low as 300,000. Remember, Raw did a 1.4 just a few weeks ago. What if Raw does a 1.4 and AEW does a 1.28? You're getting awfully fucking close there. So I just think that as long as AEW, I think, is staying a million or better, and WWE is hovering right around or under or just slightly above that 2 million range, I think that's pretty healthy for AEW. The fact that they're able to draw those type of numbers versus the numbers of a company that's been around for 60 years. It ain't bad. So they got to keep that over a million, though. I think Dynamite continues to push hard and make sure that they line up big matches every week, and you don't have any phoned-in shows, you don't have any throwaway shows, and you don't do anything that can, possibly get that rating or get that rating dipped below a million. You don't want that. So that's good news for us, too. I think Raw is going to have to give us good shows if they don't want to get their asses handed to them by Monday Night Football, and Dynamite is going to have to work hard to keep that million as their bottom resistance point and just try to be higher than that. So that's going to benefit us, the fans, this week on Dynamite. 2-year anniversary show. Fun matches set for this. We got a big 8-man that was set up last night on Rampage. It's the Bucks, Adam Cole, and Kenny Omega taking on Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Christian, and Bryan Danielson. Holy fuck. That's going to be fun. Also, last week on Dynamite, we saw Sammy Guevara defeat Miro in the main event to win the TNT title in a great upset, in a fucking awesome match. And then backstage after the event, he's interviewed. Basically, they used Dynamite as the lead-in for Cody Rhodes' new show, so we had to sit through the first 15 minutes of that shit to get to this Sammy Guevara interview that was going to come at the first commercial break. And he's interviewed backstage, and I guess he gets a text or a DM or something from Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish, who was released, he wants a shot because he was in NXT, so I think he only had the 30-day. He wants a shot at the TNT title, and Sammy has agreed. And this week on Dynamite, we're getting Sammy Guevara versus Bobby Fish and Adam Cole on the same show on the same night. That's fucking awesome. Would like to see Bobby Fish stick around and maybe have some sort of a run-in with Cole. I also think that Cole could potentially destroy Bobby Fish and maybe kick his ass. Bobby Fish might think that they're homies because of NXT, and Cole's like, think again, I'm elite now. Super kicks him in his mustache, and they whoop his ass. That could happen as well. I don't know. We'll see. Fish and Sammy Guevara, interesting match, one that at least I haven't seen before. Should be fun. Like I said, big 8-man, and the big one, the Casino ladder match, which we now have the contestants here. It's going to be Pac, Andrade, Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, Orange Cassidy, and Matt Hardy for some reason, and along with a Joker. So the Joker is going to be the mystery opponent here, or the mystery entrant, and a lot of people have been speculating that it could be Adam Page. I hope that it is, because I think he's got to finish up his stuff with Kenny Omega. He can come back, challenge Omega at Full Gear, win the title, and then Omega can run it back with Bryan Danielson. I'm still struggling to say that. He can run it back there, and they can have an actual winner. We don't have to worry about the belt being on the line. Or if this is kind of like the Casino Battle Royales are, when the winner usually just gets a title shot like Ruby Soho just did, just on TV in a couple of weeks, and we're just setting up like a Kenny Omega title defense on Dynamite 2 weeks from now, then my number one pick is Buddy Murphy, Buddy Matthews, or whatever. I think that match would be mwah if we could get that on TV. Oh my God, the beauty. But if you're going to have the winner here to be a more long-term opponent for Omega, then you have Page come back, win the ladder match, and then tell Omega, I want my shot at the pay-per-view, and there you go. So you guys place your bets. What do you think? It might not be either one of those two guys. I would be satisfied if it's either one. Those are my top two, Murphy or Page. As long as one of those guys comes out of the Joker as the Joker, I'm going to be a happy guy. And with all the speculation online all week long, when you have a mystery opponent advertised for a show that's a 2-year anniversary show, they're not going to let us down on that. They're not going to give us Rey Mysterio as number 30 in the 2015 Royal Rumble. They're not going to do that to us. They're going to give you something or someone that should be a pretty big deal, and I think both of those would be acceptable Jokers. So who do you think? Bray Wyatt? I don't think so. I don't think it's Bray Wyatt. I only think he's 2 months into his 90-day, unless they cut him out early. But Casino ladder match is not Bray Wyatt's style. If you're going to bring him in, I'm not bringing him in as a Joker in the ladder match. I'm bringing him in with vignettes, or bring him in like Malachi Black or something like that. Not this. But he could be. I say contestants like it's a game show. I meant contestants. Participants, I should say. CG2K. Thank you for the $5. Carmella moving to Raw equals now we have to listen to Corey Graves jizz his pants every time she comes out. Yeah, we do. So get ready. Get ready for a lot of Corey Graves jizz. Hope y'all can handle it. Bring a towel. Yeah, well, Triple H going to Randy Orton's house was a bit more violent, getting thrown through the glass and whatnot. That was great. But fucking Seth just dancing around the house, propping his feet up, shitting on his kids, and drinking his orange juice. Oh, my God. I like Seth Rollins more now than I've ever liked him in his career. Like, honestly, best work of his career is happening right this very moment. So enjoy it, y'all, because there was a time when a lot of people thought that Seth had trouble connecting and whatnot, So it's good to see him kind of find his niche here and find this character and let it continue to evolve. He talked a lot about this on Broken Skull Sessions. If you have not seen that, head over to your cock and check it out. Good interview with Stone Cold, and they talked a lot about the different stages of his career and what led to him being this drip, whatever the hell he is now. And it's just really entertaining. He's good at it. He's so good at being a sniveling, obnoxious fucker. So I love that in people. So he's doing good, and we'll see what happens with Edge. I mean, if they're going to do the blow off at Crown Jewel and Edge fucking murders him, but I also think they could wind up on the same brand in the draft, so it might continue. I don't know. An angle that's been going on this long, I almost think it's better for both of those guys to not be on the same brand when it's over. You got a chance here to move them apart. You should, but with Charlotte going over to SmackDown, I feel like you got no choice. And I might be wrong with the Seth and Becky thing. It's just, how can they be on separate shows, on separate traveling schedules? How can you do that with a baby? So I just feel like you got to stick together for traveling purposes and being able to be home at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to have your days off. They're never going to see each other because they're not going to be, when Raw is off, SmackDown's going to be on the road. So they're never home together. I guess that probably keeps the baby with a parent most of the time, but still, it should be very difficult to do that. So I think they got to be on the same show together. So they might just both be staying on SmackDown. And that's what we could see. I think that's another possibility there, is that we're assuming Becky's going to jump to Raw, but we should also be assuming that Becky and Charlotte might stay on the same brand on SmackDown. It's just Charlotte might drop that title before on Raw. Maybe to Shayna Baszler. Maybe Shayna Baszler kills her and takes the title. I don't know. We'll see. But we got 3 weeks to figure it out. We'll figure it out. A couple of news tidbits I wanted to get into. The first one is just something funny. Did you guys see Impact's announcement of their new championship? It's going to be called the Digital Media title, which, what a name. My God, that is just such an odd name for a championship. I don't know what the hell it's going to mean. I guess it's going to be their version of the TV. They don't have a TV, do they? I don't think they do. So it'll be their version of the TNT title or the TV title or the US title or something like that. It's going to be called the Digital Media title. It makes me feel like an NFT is going to win the title or something, and it's going to be an online championship or something. Who knows what road it could go down, but that's weird. Belt's not even very good looking either, but that happened. Also, there is some smoke to the rumors that SummerSlam could potentially actually be in the UK next year, because next year will be 2022, and that will be the 30-year anniversary of SummerSlam 92 in Wembley Stadium. So there has been some talk, and we've all said for years that the UK and anywhere over there deserves, anywhere in the UK, any of those cities deserve to have a pay-per-view. But I think the only thing really stopping them is the time constraints here, because the majority of their business is here in the States. So if you do a pay-per-view over there, it was fine in 1992 because you could tape it, and it just aired later or something. I forgot how it went, but it didn't air live, because otherwise you'd have to stay up until the middle of the night or something, which we shouldn't complain about, because the fans over there, anybody that I have in England or Scotland or anywhere on that side of the pond, you all have to keep crazy hours if you want to keep up with this stuff. If you're watching me right now from over there, I have no idea what time it is. You're probably like 9 hours ahead of me. No, you're not. Yeah, you're 9 hours ahead of me. So it's probably like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, something like that over there. And that makes it difficult for airing shit here. And I think that's always been WWE's hesitation with that. I think it really just comes down to time. And that's also why I don't think there will ever be like a WrestleMania in Hawaii or anything. I think it would just cause too many problems. But I think WWE at some point needs to just fucking sacrifice that and say, you know what, tough noogies for us here in the U.S., you're going to have to do what they've done their whole fucking lives for one night. You can stay up late and watch a pay-per-view and stop your bitching. So I think maybe doing that is a really good idea. It just depends on if they want to air it later here or air it live, or some fans just here might choose to watch it the next day on Peacock or whatever, because it'll be available obviously live wherever, but you might just go to sleep that night and say, I'll watch it tomorrow. I don't know, but I think it would be really fun to give that a shot. Why not? And have some big match. I don't know what you could put in the main event of that, but I would like it to be some sort of a nod or an ode or a tribute to Brett and Davey, you know. We'll see. So if that comes to fruition, I and we here on the channel are all for it. It's no problem. But at the same time, I do understand why WWE never did go back there for a full-blown pay-per-view. They gave like England-only pay-per-views and shit like that was just for them, but never a full-blown SummerSlam or something. So it's way overdue, and it's time to do it. So I hope that gets done for next year, because if it doesn't get done next year, then why even bother? Do it for the 30th anniversary. That's a huge deal. That was a big show, man. Second biggest crowd in WWE's history, I think. And some might argue the first if they padded WrestleMania 3 a little bit. So, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully SummerSlam will be in the UK next year. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you guys, because you deserve it. Also, I want to talk a little bit before we sign off here about this past Thursday's Dark Side of the Ring episode, which featured FMW. So this was kind of another gnarly one. Now, I was aware of FMW. I have tapes of FMW. They were some of the first tapes that I got when I got into tape trading, when I found my first phone number in the back of a magazine and started creating contacts with people with tapes. I found a guy that had death matches. I had all that shit with Foley and Funk and a whole bunch of FMW stuff, and it came in this big box, and my God, the quality was so bad because it had been recorded and dubbed over so many times, and you had to trust. You had to mail in like a money order to this complete stranger and hope this fucker sent you the tapes back. And a lot of times you would share catalogs and tell him what you had, and you could trade some stuff and actually trade. But with me, some of it was trading, but most of it was purchasing. And a lot of times I just had to trust some of these contacts that I found. And a couple times I got burned. I lost a little bit of money on a guy that screwed me. Just didn't send me. He had like a bunch of specials going. And he's like, and if you buy 3 pay-per-views, I'll give you 2 free. But then he had another special at the same time. Like if you buy 10, you get 2 free. So basically I just did all these specials at once, and I ordered like $500 worth of tapes. And he probably only sent me half the amount that he should have. He was supposed to send me probably about 50 more tapes and pay-per-views that he never did. Never saw my money. So it was just different back then. It isn't like now. But I remember getting a lot of that deathmatch stuff and a lot of FMW stuff. Now this is, really highlighting Onita in his career and how he got started and how he started FMW, because he was more of a high flyer back in his early days working for Baba in New Japan, and then he got hurt. And so he tried to reinvent himself as a hardcore wrestler. He even kind of described the night that he realized the audience craves that and desires that. He got like kicked in the face and blood splattered everywhere, and just feeling the crowd's reaction to that. He sounded a little bit like Mick Foley. Mick Foley tells similar stories. He got kicked in the face on the schoolyard, and he was bleeding everywhere. And for the first time, he got attention, and he didn't mind the pain because it got him all the attention, type of thing. And he saw how people react to that. And Onita kind of did the same thing, and that's what kind of gave him the idea to go full blown with this. And he became a legend. He was hugely over. FMW made a lot of money, despite some of the problems they had, like the ring catching on fire and a lot of guys getting injured. He was a rock star there. He made a ton of money, admittedly got a big head, and, maybe even started losing the love for it a little bit. Maybe wasn't the businessman that he needed to be a couple of times here or there. And then eventually just kind of got burnt out and decided to get out of the company. But he was kind of the face of the company. He was the one that was putting in all those matches, that passion. He would have this grueling match where he'd basically just slice his own head off, and then he'd cut a promo about how much he loves the audience and loves what he does, crying and bleeding in the ring every night. It was the equivalent. It was the deathmatch equivalent of Hogan Must Pose. And when he decided to get out, he turned over the company to, I guess, the ring announcer who had been there for the entire duration. And that guy was not capable of running the company. They tried to then replace Onita with Hayabusa as the face of the company. We all know what happened to Hayabusa. We've talked about that gnarly injury before here on the channel, and his paralyzation and subsequent death and all of that. And of course, we learned that I didn't know any of this stuff about FMW. Knew of FMW and seen some matches, but didn't know, and knew Onita, but didn't know the internal drama that was going on. Maybe heard bits and pieces throughout the years and shoot interviews and stuff, but didn't really know it was this bad. And the ring announcer who had taken over the company, he started getting under finances. They talked about the Japanese Yakuza who owned the arenas and, had business dealings with these, wrestling promotions and stuff, and their influences and loan sharks and whatnot. And in the end, I feel like he felt there was no way out, and he wound up hanging himself and committing suicide. So it was just kind of an ugly story, a sad story, but one that highlighted the legacy of FMW well and what it brought, and some of that really hardcore shit that really lives today. It lives on in crazy motherfuckers like Nick Gage and whatnot. So it was a different time, but an interesting time, and it was a pretty good Dark Side of the Ring episode. I forget what the next one is. I think the finale is the steroid trial, and I forget what the next one is. Shit. But a couple more episodes left of season 3, and then we are into season 4. So start giving out your suggestions, placing your bets of who you would like to see featured and chronicled in season 4. I definitely think there are options. I just have to give it some, really good thought. You could do one. It just depends on, if some of these people's stories aren't told. One guy that kind of comes to mind is Marty Jannetty. But he's kind of still alive and kicking, and his problems aren't over. And I don't think the drama and the craziness and the drug abuse that surrounds him is anywhere near over yet. But I'm sure there's plenty of wrestling deaths you could still feature as well, plenty of wrestling suicides. That could even be, an episode on its own, just wrestling suicides. I don't know. We'll talk about that in upcoming streams. Haven't really given that much thought yet. But season 4 should be just as good. Crazy. I think there's going to be a season 4. Yeah, these are very successful. I think a lot of fans like them, and they should continue this. There's also, have you guys watched? They have Dark Side of the 90s. I love the 90s. I'm a product of the 90s. I lived the best ages in the 90s. I was age 13 to 23. That's exactly the age you want to be in the 90s. It's several kind of different spans of your life. So I remember a lot from the 90s, and they have Dark Side of the 90s where they talk about the internet, they talk about music, they talk about a lot of stuff, and it's cool. It's all there on Vice. I've watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes. It's pretty good. So check out Dark Side of the 90s if you want to enjoy that. Did they do one on Shawn Michaels? I don't think so. Shawn isn't really a sad story. I mean, he had demons and problems, obviously, but he's a happy story. He should be happy side of the ring. Good. Now, if Shawn would have died, then yes, Dark Side of the Ring, Shawn would be the very first episode they did. But Shawn is he's a different man now, I'm starting to forget all the episodes. Did they do XPW or not? I don't think they did. They might have. I kind of have to look at the let's look at the episode listing. What did they do for season 2 here? Okay, so season 2 was Benoit 1 and 2, New Jack, episode 4. It was Brawl for All, Jimmy Snuka, Dino Bravo, David Schultz, and the Slap. That's right. The Herb Abrams was fun. Road Warriors and Owen Hart was season 2. Season 3 is what we're in now. What are the final episodes here? Because I missed it. We are on playing. Johnny K9. That's right. That's the next one. Then after that, we got Luna Vachon. And I don't see the steroid trial on here. Maybe it's not on here. Okay. Yeah. Just kind of reviewing these. I remember him now. Season 1 was Randy Savage and Elizabeth, the Montreal Screwjob, Bruiser Brody, the Von Erichs, Gino Hernandez, and Moolah. Yeah, good stuff. So, yeah, there's still plenty of stuff they could do for season 4, for sure. But anyway, that kind of wraps up my notes. Not a terribly huge audience in here right now, so I'll knock out any super chats that still exist and get my ass out of here. If you guys can smash the thumbs up button for me on the way out, I'd appreciate it. Luigi DeRaw Gaming, thanks for the $5. What if they do one of the darker side of the Monday Night Wars? Maybe. Again, I don't know if that's really that dark. I mean, the last Nitro was sad and everything, but there was no tragedy really involved there. It was just 2 companies fighting and one lost. A lot of it was just competition. I find it a very interesting documentary to do in any other tone other than dark. It wasn't all happy. Both companies struggled and went through their own troubles and stuff, but nothing was that depressing about the Monday Night Wars. That was a glorious time, man. I lived it. I breathed it. I felt it. I went to shows during the Attitude Era or during the Monday Night Wars. I went to Raws during that time. I was at the Raw where DX went to Nitro in Virginia. I was there. That was a great time, not a dark time, and I have nothing but fond memories over that stuff. So, anywho, I got to get out of here. It is party time for Good Mic Work. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. Like I said, I will not be up here tomorrow for a live stream, but I'll be hanging around Twitter if you want to chat. Shoot me some shit over there. We will be back on Monday night immediately following Raw for our Raw review, and we will continue our Wednesday night AEW Dynamite watch-alongs this week with some mic drops scattered throughout. So stay tuned for that. You guys have a great rest of your day,